Hi everybody, Uncle Max here from Life to the Max. So, I haven't posted something for a long time. Believe it or not, I make content all the time. My hang up is getting the stuff posted. I was just being reminded because of our water situation. We used to get our distilled water from an herb store, and a good friend of mine that works there, her name's Connie. I call her Vitamin C because she has such good energy. It's like getting a dose of a good vitamin. Real amazing gal. And I was telling her about emergency preparedness and the show that I've been trying to put together. And when the pandemic hit and they shut everything down, I told her about my experience at the store. There was nothing there at the store. Literally, there was a 6-pack of eggs and a weird loaf of some ethnic bread that nobody knew how to use. No paper products, of course. Luckily, we had a good stash of toilet paper that saved us, and a lot of food storage, but we hadn't been using it and rotating it. But the frustration that I had is the news started making fun of people that were buying toilet paper and stocking up on water. And I said, what they're doing is not wrong. What if there was an earthquake, that was destroyed the water mains? In fact, water is what's going to kill most people. You can have your supply of food. If you don't have a safe, big supply of water, you're going to be in a world of hurt. I want to put a link here to a conversation I had with one of my friends who was talking to somebody in the water department. And once the guy in the water department realized he wasn't some wacky terrorist, my friend was able to ask more questions about how the water system works and what are we going to do in an emergency. And he mentioned that if they're lucky, they might get enough water to keep everyone from dying of hypothermia. No water for cooking or food preparation or personal hygiene, just to keep you from not dying from dehydration. So water is super important. And I was telling my friend this at the herb shop. And I said, everybody should have water. They're not doing it wrong. They just woke up too late. They're truly woke. And they should have been storing water all this time. And I did. I had like 15 5-gallon jugs of just immediate water. That's not, I have hundreds of gallons of 2-liter water bottles that I've been saving in apple boxes. I'll put a link here to that tip, show you how to do that, how to repurpose a fruit bottle, because they're square and they pack really well, and how you actually can have those in your 72-hour kit and have more water from simple containers that are super robust, very, very, very unlikely to fail, and they stack and pack a lot neater in a little 72-hour kit. And water is more important, super important. Most kits are junk. They don't have any water or nearly enough. They have a few little foil pouches of water. No go at this station. And people are not going to have enough. I will try to find the story of my fellow platoon leader. We had an infiltrator, and we were called out for a Homeland Defense mission. And a bad guy tried to get in and mess with the chemical weapons. We raced down there, my fellow platoon leader. He went through 11 liters of water in one afternoon, just hiking through the wadis, the ditches, trying to flush this guy out with his whole platoon and the battery commander and the first sergeant. Anyhow, water is so important. So I was telling my friend, vitamin C, what if there were no more trucks? What if the grocery stores were no longer being restocked? Everyone ran in there and cleared out. If everything stopped coming in, there would have been a riot on stuff in that store. So I was just saying, stop making fun of people that store water. Stop making fun of people that store toilet paper. As my sister said, she got an email out there once that said, you made fun of homeschoolers and you made fun of preppers, and now you're both. Because everyone was. And they realized, oh, well, we got caught with our pantry down, if you will. So, less than 24 hours later, we had an earthquake. And it woke up everybody. I'll put some news story links to it. And it was a wake-up call. And she texted me a couple minutes later, and she says, is there any greater sign you need to get your show out there? Because there's a ton of fantastic emergency information about not emergency preparedness, because everyone thinks of it as like a diet or a pill. Doc, just give me a pill. I don't want to change my lifestyle. Doc, just give me a diet so I can lose the weight, but then go back to my old lifestyle, which didn't work, which got me fatter every time I've gotten off of it. Diets don't work. Pills are not the solution. And kits. aren't what's going to save you. What you need to do is have a lifestyle change to be a more self-reliant, provident living person and an expert camper. If you can expertly figure out how to camp fantastically, out four-wheeling, overlanding, or backpacking, or ultralight backpacking, or through hiking, or whatever, if you can learn to do that, and you still have your house, it's like living in the Taj Mahal. You're camping in the Taj Mahal, okay? Learn how to be an expert camper. But here's the deal. I'm just got to start posting stuff. I just got to start putting it out there. And I'm hoping you'll understand that I have a ton of life's experiences of all those things. I'll put a link here to my premiere video that explains what my mission is all about. And what I'm trying to do is to pass on information. I like my mentor, one of my main mentors, the great Jim Phillips. His goal is to reach and teach as many people as possible to help them live providently. And I will tag on to that till I come up with a cool sounding version that sounds similar to that, but I can't wait any longer for having the perfect setup or having the perfect people help me post it. I'm just going to have to start posting, and I'm hoping that the word will get out. But besides all this great stuff and great information that I have, I need to multiply it by experience and actually going out and trying the things that I've learned. I have a hard time going out and let's go out and practice this. Let's go out and do this. And I do try to do that every time the scouts would have a camp. I would always volunteer. Every time that my dad or family members have a hunting trip or a jeeping trip or whatever what they call overlanding now, we've been doing it for decades, and we do it a little bit more substantially than them. They're getting a little bit too pampered with all their rooftop tents and their fancy slide out kitchens. You don't need to have all that. You can do it out of the back bumper of your SUV, and you can roll out the sleeping bags in the back of the SUV and sleep in it fine. We've been doing it for decades and decades. In fact, I ought to put some links to some classic early stuff when we were out camping, four-wheeling. It's just fantastic stuff and great memories. We just finished up an Easter camp that we do every year with our family, and I wanted to interview my sister because she's real smart. She's a nurse, but she's also a holistic person with lots of knowledge about essential oils and things like that. She probably saved my mom's life twice when she was in intensive care. She was able to talk medical with the docs, but a lot of the nurses are more open-minded to alternative or complementary or holistic healing techniques and modalities. And we're going to introduce you to a lot of those. And so what happens is she was able to talk with the docs on their level and even make some suggestions that the docs agreed with and didn't do some of the things that my sister realized would probably have been detrimental, helped save her life. And of course, Mindy, she's done some amazing stuff. And stuffing herbs and homeopathy and things like that. I'll put a link here to a video where she was invited to come speak to the Civil Defense Group and just share her experiences with natural healing modalities when other things weren't working. You can try these other healing modalities, and by golly, they did wonders. They did things that the other traditional medicine was not helping with. So people chose to try different things, and it worked for them. And that's not a bad thing. And it's great that, in fact, I'm going to put another link to a fantastic story from a CBS station in LA, interviewing a doctor who got into some holistic healing modality called pranic healing. And all of his fellow doctors made fun of him until they started seeing the good results that his patients started having. Because he tried everything traditional medicine would do. And then he said, "Can you mind if I try any of this weird energy stuff on you?" And they said, "Hey, knock yourself out if nothing else is helping, working." And he got tremendous results. So then his fellow colleagues started sending him their patients, their difficult patients, and they started getting some great benefits. And to the point where they've got dozens and dozens, close to 100 people in the hospital that all use this modality as a complement to traditional medicine. And so, and I'm not against traditional medicine. I just finished my 4th EMT course. And but it's nice to know there's some options and some complementary things that you can do in the event that the hospitals no longer work because the power grid shut down. They're no longer manufacturing medications, and they're no longer delivering them to pharmacies or to doctor's offices. I just literally got back in the doctor's office today where I had some damaged toenails from a botched surgery. They go real funky and terrible, and they were big and gnarly, and I couldn't even fit in my shoes anymore. I had 2 pairs of shoes, and one of them these really big safety shoes, which are great. Got them cheap. Got them at a thrift store. They fit perfectly. I actually picked my son, who's got bigger feet than I do, but they worked for me and they had room for my toes, and I was able to use them to get around, and it worked out great. So, and I did another segment, and I'll put a link here to that on why it's so important to start taking care of all your little health quirks that you really can't be putting off anymore, because we're heading for some really difficult, challenging times. And if you're a Christian, or we've been talked about the difficult times in the last days, and the fact that things are going to be really rough. It's going to take all your preparation spiritually, mentally, physically, socially. You're going to have to learn some skills. And it doesn't hurt us. It doesn't hurt us to have the skills and not need them. But it's going to really hurt us to need the skills and we don't have them because we've been putting it off, spending all our time watching the playoffs or the latest movie or the concerts. And 70-something million families of 4 could have a year's supply of food for just 1 year of what we spend on sports alone. And if you took entertainment like movies, concerts, and Broadway shows, yeah, oh, well, we need them. Well, we found out we can live without them, and we'll all be okay. And they're nice to have, but if you put first things first, another 70-something million families of 4 could have a year's supply of food just for the amount of money we spend on entertainment each year. So we're going to talk about that. Here's another great example. What does everybody carry? What's normal for everyone to carry when they leave? And probably the number one thing is their phone. They are connected to it like crazy. I just went to a class, and one of the instructors was talking about the fact that people have no sense of situational awareness. And he showed a picture of this whole group of millennials all walking down this sidewalk, and 7 or 8 people, every one of their heads was in their phone. They weren't even paying attention where they were walking. They may have just looked up for a split second to make sure they weren't at the end of the block or something. But every one of their heads was in their phone and had no idea what was going on around them. And if your phone is the number one thing you're going to carry, why? Because it's so important. It keeps you connected with people. A lot of people, it's their money. They pay with their phone. Some people have their electronic versions of their driver's license or IDs. I don't have an official electronic version, but I did take some pictures. And I just went to get my license, and I had a picture of my EMT certification that they don't make hard copies anymore. So I took a picture of my certification from the screen when I was able to sign in with the state, and they said I could print one out and laminate it and have it if I wanted, and I probably will. But I had that when I went to the state to get some vehicles registered, and I have an old ambulance full drive van that I want to keep it kind of in ambulance mode, and I wanted to make sure it had EMT license plates on it. And so I had to provide them that. I was able to email that to them, and they accepted that. If I didn't have my phone, my connection to the world with me at that time, then I wouldn't have it. But I just proved to you that phones are no good if you don't have power. And I don't know of hardly anybody that doesn't go out with extra power cords and an extra phone to make sure that their phones are charged up, or that they have the ability to keep charging their phones. I talk about this in all these other segments that I've been capturing for years, but I'm not getting up and posted because that's my hang up, is to get in and posted. Phones are super important, and I just proved that. And we're going to be talking about a whole segment called comms. Comms is king, and that's where comms is one of the categories in the Army that we have to make sure we have good. You have the bullets, you have beans, you have to have comms, you have to have transportation. But comms is important. Comms is so important to coordinate things and everything. And when the grid goes down, so are your phones. There's a great story. 20 years ago in Utah, they had this tornado, an F2, came out of nowhere. It's called Bomb Genesis. It just came to be really strongly, and did millions and millions of dollars worth of damage. But also, it killed a person, and it was right during a big, huge convention that they have every year. It's an outdoor convention where all the retailers come and check out all the latest goods. All the buyers come and say, I want some of yours. I want so many of yours for our business and everything. So big deal, and half of it was in this huge massive tent they set up every year, and it just shredded that tent to pieces, and one of the people inside was killed. Very uncommon for Utah. Anywhere out here in the Intermountain West, we only get like two tornadoes or funnel clouds a year. Tornadoes if it hits the ground. But that's another thing. We're gonna have weather school. And we're gonna be talking all about all the different kinds of weather and what it can do and why it's so important to be prepared, not just for man-made disasters or terrorism or crazy Putins and stuff like that, but to be prepared for natural disasters. And if you know how to read nature, there's a lot of things you can help prevent or protect against. And if you know what it can do, you think, well, you know what? I'm just going to beef up my protection of what my resources a little bit better so they don't get destroyed, and they'll be safe. And we'll be talking all about that. But if comms is so important, you've got to have your charge cable, extra battery, and we'll be talking about a case for your phone you can get that'll actually charge your phone up twice. And it's just a case. You don't even think you're carrying around a spare battery. And then always carrying a cable with perhaps not just the way to charge your phone, but the way to charge other people's phones. Because if you have power and their phone's dead, you can plug in your cable that can handle their phone, like a Lightning or a mini micro USB and a USB-C. If you have the adapters for those, don't take up very much space, you could power their phone up long enough for them to make a call and let their family know they're alive. That happened in a great scene in the movie, The Impossible, with Ewan McGregor and is it Claire Danes? Anyhow, great movie. I highly suggest it. It's a good kick in the pants of what can happen and a good example of people doing good things. Tom Holland, I didn't recognize it. He was a kid at this point. He wasn't playing Spidey, and he was the oldest of these three kids for this couple that got slammed with it, and now they survived. And anyhow, great movie. So there's a point at which he couldn't call his folks. He couldn't find his wife, didn't know if she was alive, and somebody let him borrow his phone with very little battery. I'll put a link to that, or I know I have a video up there that has that in there. I'll put a link that actually shows the scene of that movie to prove what's going on. But here's the deal. I need to get in shape. I just got my, like I said, that medical procedure. I'm going to start exercising. So what am I doing? I'm sitting on here, one of my Total Gyms. I love Total Gyms. I think they're great. I love Chuck. Christy Brinkley's pretty impressive too. And I like what it does. It's great. John Carlito does 6 to 8 minute workouts, and you do this for 6 days, and you cover your entire body, 18 different exercises, and it's not too hard. You baby step into it. But yeah, you look back behind you in time and you think, oh my gosh, this pandemic's been 2 years, it's gone by like a flash. You think 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 14 weeks, that's a hiccup from yesterday. It's gone by super fast. But if you have the problem that I have in the future, it seems 14 weeks. Oh my gosh, that's forever. It's going to take forever. What was the 14 weeks behind you? Oh my gosh, that went by like lightning. My baby, 6'7", 200 pounds, all muscle, going to college, doing amazing things. And, they grow up so fast. So anyhow, time goes by quick. And the time in front of you will go by very quick too. But if you just baby step and do a little bit better. I'm in the process of reading a fantastic book. I definitely want to encourage everyone to read it. It's called Atomic Habits. It's fantastic. It talks about tiny little incremental changes you can make in every little area of your life. That if you just improve at 1% in all these different little areas, the aggregate of those tiny improvements makes a massive difference. And I want to do that for you in being better prepared, not just to live a more provident life. And I don't want you to be prepared by you get a kit and then you throw it in the corner and think, okay, I'm prepared. And then you're not. You need to have a lifestyle change where you're learning a little bit, learning awesome new skills. You're going to see one of many of our videos, hopefully, and say, that's really cool. I want to need that information someday. And then someday you're going to need it and you're going to be able to draw on that and think, I remember there was a video that Uncle Max had that taught me how to tie this particular knot that saved the day, and it was actually fairly easy. Or how to make a water still to get water out of the ground. That might be the difference between life or death. Or how to purify water, how to procure water, how to get water out of plant leaves that are still on the tree. Different tips, how to prevent disease, how to know what to do when there's a huge cloud of some nasty looking toxic stuff, and how do you deal with that? Which direction do you go? How do you deal with it? What to do with radiation? I will tell you a lot about radiation. I've been a civil defense volunteer, member of TACTA, the American Civil Defense Association. I was a chemical officer in the Army. I deal with nuclear, biological, and chemical issues. We taught the best NBC training that battalion has ever seen. I got lots of kudos for that. And we'll tell you what to do. So if there is a nuclear issue, which at some point the government said it's a matter of when, not if, we have a nuclear issue, because more and more countries and more groups want to have them. And as they said in the movie The Peacemaker, in fact, I did a lessons learned from The Peacemaker, and I just do some comments on things that were kind of bogus in there, or things that were actually pretty good. That's actually pretty accurate. And so stay tuned for lessons from different fun movies, and we'll be actually promoting great movies that we think are really positive and give a good family oriented. They teach a really good principle. If you're going to watch entertainment, let's watch stuff that actually uplifts us and edifies us in some way, and it makes us a better person for having watched it, not feeling kind of icky inside, like, why did I waste the time sitting through that? I remember somebody coming out of a movie once and saying, I feel like I just had 2 hours of my life stolen. And we don't want that experience. We want you to have really good experiences. If you're going to spend your time consuming things, we want to make sure they're good. Sorry about this. Got to stabilize this camera. Yeah, it's going to be crappy video, and I apologize, but I tell you, the content that's there hopefully is worth putting up with my crappy videography. I don't have a cameraman. I don't have what I have is I'm riddled with ADD, and I have a lot of challenges. So the areas where I'm fantastic, I'm going to be passing that information on. The areas where I really struggle, hey, my mess is going to be my message, and I'm going to take care of it, just like taking care of these nasty toe problems I've been putting off for years. And I'm going to finally start getting healthy again. I'm going to start eating right, and I'm going to start exercising. I want to address my food issues. I want to address my bad habit issues. We'll be sharing tips and tricks from really awesome books like Atomic Habits. But check them out. That book is fantastic. I highly encourage it. If you have Audible, if you have a library, we'll talk about ways of linking with libraries that have electronic collaborations. And you can actually download e-audio books that are available. I can literally go on, and my wish list has a list of all these really great books that I want to kind of cycle through and remind myself of, because repetition is the key to getting these skills down and having them be part of you. And I saw one of the books, and I was able to tap on it. It was available. It says borrow now. Tap on it, download it. Within 30 seconds, I could be listening to a fantastic book. If you're set up with your local library and they have electronic collaborators with these great programs and great books and stuff like that, or just outright buy it. There's just some fantastic information in there that it can just totally change our lives. Remember, we're not here to be normal. Normal people, they avoid this. Normal people, they're stuck in their mediocrity or their ho-humness, and they don't want to get better. And anyone tries to get better, they try to pull them down. Hey, you think you're better than this? And then they mock people that try to lift themselves up. There's two ways to have the biggest house in the block. One is to tear down everyone else's, which is what they do. The other one is to build your house bigger. And so they take their time, it's the crab theory, where if you have one crab in a bucket, you have to put a lid on it. But as soon as you catch another crab and you put it in your bucket, you don't have to leave the lid on, because as soon as one crab tries to lift himself up and climb out, the other crab goes over and pulls him down. Hence the term being a really crabby person. Okay, so we're going to talk about things mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, things that will help us to lift ourselves up and to get out of this funk and to live a more provident life, but to be better prepared and better aware and have more knowledge about what's going on around you, so you can be better able to deal with challenges. If you're in a theater and somebody starts coming in and being wacko, the wacko that drove past 7 or 8 or 9 other theaters that were perfectly fine, they didn't say no guns allowed here, but then they went to the one where they said there was no guns allowed. Why do you think they went there? Because they thought none of it was going to shoot me back. But everywhere where there are allowed to carry, crime is a lot lower. We're going to talk about concealed carry, both unarmed, armed with maybe just a legal pocket knife, or armed with concealed carry. Now, more than half of the states realize you have a constitutional right to defend yourself. And unless there's a reason why you shouldn't, which is having a felony, then those people are not allowed to carry. But if you are a law-abiding person, which, by the way, more concealed carry permit holders are more law-abiding than even police officers. Police officers commit more crimes than law-abiding concealed carry permit holders. So if you've been told otherwise, you've been lied to or misinformed by people that have either been lied to or misinformed themselves. So don't believe those, and we'll pass on the actual facts, the actual information of how many times firearms save people's lives every day. Every single day, 3,000 to 10,000 times, depending on which statistics. 3,000 to 10,000 times a day, people are saved by a good government. So anyhow, you don't hear those stories because they were saved. The crime didn't happen. Nobody was murdered. The woman wasn't raped. The child wasn't kidnapped. The people weren't beat up and assaulted. So anyhow, we're going to pass on a bunch of really good information. We're always going to talk about things like recycling. I do recycle more than anybody I know. I hate it when I go out in nature and I see people driving motorcycles all over off the trail like they're not supposed to. It just fumed me this last weekend. And I actually got on the case of a couple of kids that were driving off the road where the sign clearly said, stay on designated roads, and they're driving off, scarring up the landscape. I hate it. I hate people that leave trash around. I hate people that litter. I hate it when people waste things. Reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, repurpose. All important things. When the grid goes down, what are you going to have left? Only what you have left. And you're going to have to learn how to use it up, wear it out, make do or do without. That's an old classic phrase. And I believe it. I believe it. And I don't believe you should be spending money on a bunch of fancy stuff, on fancy clothes, on fancy, fashion, when you don't have food stored up and ready to go, and you don't have what means of water. You don't have the things that keep your kids alive and safe and warm, like that freeze that estimated 700 to 1,000 people died from that cold snap in Texas. And that's just people that died, not the damage, not the inconvenience of having your water pipes break and destroy your entire house full of floods with all your belongings trashed and ruined and freezing. We're going to teach you all about those things. We're going to teach you the absolute best way to stay warm. Even if you fell through the ice, you'd get up and you'd end up being warm. And you would be fine, and you would survive fine, and you would dry right out and be warm in time. So stay tuned. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to let you guys get better. Just focus on this. Spend a little bit of time each day. We're going to put a lot of great information out. And we're all going to be better. We're all going to be more self-reliant. We're learn how to be interdependent, as the author of 7 Habits for Highly Successful People says. We're going to learn to be interdependent with other people that want to have a provident lifestyle and a good Judeo-Christian-minded folks that work together. And if there are other people from other faiths that agree with working together and helping people, and not stealing and cooperating and helping your neighbor and loving your neighbor, everybody's on board. Everybody's on board. It's going to be good. It's going to be crappy video. It's going to be me, squirrel. Ooh, shiny object. Oh, that's a great idea. That reminds me of something. But I call those ADD-ons, add-ons. And but just hang on for the ride. It's going to be crazy, but you're going to love it. I guarantee you're going to learn something every single day. I want people to tell me in the description what they learned. What were the aha moments that they learned from our show? And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a variety. We're going to have a whole bunch of topics, and it'll be like a fun variety show. And it's going to be good. And it's going to be good for me too, to finally get this thing rolling, get a little bit of traction. It's Dave Ramsey, the guy who talks about how important it is to get out of debt. Absolutely another thing you need to do is get out of debt. All those people who lost their homes during the crash in 2008, and we barely saved our home, and it's saving us. It's going to help us get to even a better property. We're going to be going into a homesteading situation. We're going to be trying to get completely off the grid. We've had power issues. We have water. I have a lot of options for water here, but there I will have my own well and my own sewage system, my own septic system. I don't have to worry about sewer coming up in the basement like happened last year. And talking about being in an area where there's tens of thousands of people all around us, and the sewer system isn't working. That's ripe for all kinds of disease and problems. So we're going to be moving to a place where we have a lot more space, a lot more land. We're going to start living more providently, doing a little more homesteading. And it'll get us into a good position. I'm going to get on with the local EMS down there and try to help save lives. And at the same time, learn a lot of skills and get some confidence down and doing what we need to do, learning how to enter into situations and keep your head without getting panicked or waking out. Anyhow, it's going to be good. Thank you for for starting, those few subscribers that just got on at the very beginning. I hope that you'll really like what we have coming, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Anyhow, till next time, Max out.